Oh, I didn't tell you I had a stepson.
Mm.
But he lived with his grandmother
Mm.
until she died.
I see.
And of course, my husband supported him or sent money to her to take care of him and everything.
Yeah. Is he still living?
No, he died last year.
Oh.
He was living in somewhere outside of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And his family.
What was his name?
Bill, William. And he took me by surprise when he asked me about what his name was. I can't even remember. He lived with his grandmother. He had a mother, but his mother didn't want him, and the grandmother told me this. She would bring him over to her place and just leave him, and said she'd be back, but she'd never come back. So after a while, she got tired of sending him down to her, which she lived in an adjacent town, so she kept him. So he lived with her until she died, and he was 14 when she died. She died, and Opleen was 2 or 3 at the time, I believe she was, something like that, around 3. And so his sister and minister I was telling you about, they were very, very nice to me all the time, and very proud of my family and all that sort of thing. And they used to call us their Catholic cousins. And so they took it upon themselves that they were going to notify his mother if she wanted to come and take him, or whether she never even bothered to respond. So my husband, as we were coming back to New York, he took him into a drugstore, and he had the telephone number from them where she lived. She had been married twice, I guess, or 3 times, or something like that. I mean, I don't want to go into that. And so he said goodbye to her, and she didn't seem to think nothing about it. And so we brought him home, and he was way behind in school. He was 14, and he was only in the 6th grade, so you can use your own judgment. The grandmother was not on the ball about things. She was getting older, and whenever he didn't feel like going to school, he just didn't go to school, and so I had to take it upon myself to start him off on the right track, because I wanted him to make progress. So I took him to school as soon as we got back after the funeral when the grandmother died, and introduced him to principal, which was the first person he met. And I explained the situation briefly to the principal, why he was so far behind in school. He lived with his grandmother all these years, and when the grandmother wasn't well, why he would just use it as an excuse to stay home and so on, and things like that. And so he said, if you work with me, I'll work with you. And he said, by the time he's ready to go into high school, he said he will catch up with his class.
Mm-hmm.
And I really worked with him, believe me.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I
sat down every afternoon when he came home from school. You have to do your homework. I helped him with his homework. And I gave him a certain amount of leeway that he could go out and play basketball with the kids and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, studies come first.
Mm-hmm.
And graduated from grade school with his class, with his age group. Went into high school. And when he was, I think in his last year of high school, he had a half a year to go, and he was going to be 18. And 4 was on. And nothing would do, but he wanted to go into the Marines. And we tried to talk him out of it, but it didn't work. So my husband had to sign for him because he was short of 18 of his birthday. But he was not that far, because his birthday was a week before mine. His was on the 16th and mine was on the 22nd of August.
Mm-hmm.
So before his 18th birthday, he wanted to get signed up so that the Army, because there was a draft going on then, so the draft wouldn't get him to put him in the Army. He wanted to go into the Marines. So my husband couldn't talk him out of it, so he signed up for him, and he let him go into the Marines. he was sent down to Parris Island. I think that's in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. And from there, they sent him to San Diego. And we never seen him from the day he was sent to Parris Island until 33 months later when he came back from the Pacific, believe it or not.
Goodness.
He loved the Marines.
Yeah.
So this is a whole other story. When he came back from the Marines, his mother had no interest in him that I know of at any time. But my husband encouraged him to keep in touch with her, which was the right thing to do, and I had no objections. And she knew that he went into the service and so on and so forth. And when he was coming home, he ended up in San Diego from the Pacific, and he got in touch with us, called us. He needed money to come home, so we sent him money. And he said that he wanted to stop off to visit with his mother on the way because she lived someplace in Ohio. And while he was living with us, I sent him down there a couple times, but it didn't last. She'd put him on the next bus and send him back.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess she didn't want to be responsible or whatever the situation was. So anyways, he stopped at his mother's and stayed there a few days, and then he'd come home. And he had a half a semester of high school to finish because, as I said, he wanted to get in the Marines. So anyways, my husband said, now you talk to him, because he said, I don't know what he wants to do, and he said, I don't want to get myself upset. And he said, you use good judgment and you know what you want to do and all that sort of thing. So I said, okay, I'll talk to him. Him and I always got along well. I had no trouble with him at all, ever. So anyways, after he was home a couple days, I said to him, I took him out to buy him a bunch of clothes because everything he had was outgrown, and I gave it away and stuff like that. I took him shopping. And he came home right after the first of the year, it seems to me, in January. And so I said to him, I said, your father wants me to sit down and talk to you, and I want to know what your plans are. And first of all, I said, I think you ought to go back to school as far as getting your diploma, because you can't go anyplace without your high school diploma. Well, he kind of hesitated and hemmed and hawed. And I said, furthermore, I want to know this. Have you plans on going to living with your mother, or do you plan on staying here with us? And I said, if you plan on going back to your mother's, you decide what you want to do and you go. Do your own thing, because you're going to be 18 years of age. If you're planning on staying here with us, I said, I want to know what your plans are.
Mm-hmm.
So he said to me, you know, he just wasn't settled, in other words. By that time he was 21.
Mm-hmm. So what did he do?
So anyways, I talked to him and talked to him and talked to him, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there. I didn't want to push it too much. I tried to be very diplomatic about it and everything. 1st of February was coming on, and that's when the next semester started at high school. So I said to him, so he said, well, what would you suggest, Betty? He said, I don't know what I want to do, and, you know, I can't do anything till I get my high school diploma. I said, all right, my idea would be this. You get your high school diploma, go back to school, get your high school, study hard, mainly so you can graduate, because you're 21 now, and the kids you're going to be in school with are going to be younger than you. And when you get your high school diploma, I said, we can talk further. And I said, you're 21. And I said, I don't mind helping you. And I said, until you get yourself organized and know what you want to do and how you want to do it. And, but I said, I know your father can find something for you to do this summer at his company.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that will give you spending money, and it will give you money, extra money for incidentals.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll start learning how to make a living. He went along with the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So when he got his high school diploma, I talked to him again, and I said, what do you have in mind now? And he met a girl. In the meantime, he was going on 22 then, and don't remember where he met her, whether he met her at school or at a school dance or something like that. It was connected with the school somehow or other. And he was going out with this girl. And one thing led to another, and he was telling me it was getting serious. Her mother was a little pushy. I had met her. And so he finished his high school, graduated that June. His father got him a job as a helper on a truck at Coca-Cola. He worked all summer. And in September, when he was supposed to go back to school, we had talked about that. And I said, I think that you ought to go to college. Otherwise, if you don't get a college education, you're going to be stuck. Because this was the biggest thing, after the war.
Mm-hmm.
You had to, have more at your disposal. So, and I said, how serious is your romance with your girlfriend? Well, her mother thinks we should get married because we've already been keeping company, through the 6 months that he was in school, or 3 months, or whatever, or 4 months that he was in school. And she was a little bit on the pushy side. So I said, well, supposing we talk about college, are you interested in college? Well, I don't know what to do. He said, what would you suggest, Betty? And him and I treated him like a younger brother, you know what I mean? I wasn't bossy or pushy or anything like that.
Yeah.
I said, well, let's talk about it. What do you have in mind? Do you have any idea what you want to do or something? Well, he said, I talked to Dorothy. She thinks I should go to college if I can or something. I said, all right, so we'll take it from there. You go out and get yourself a job after Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I would suggest we have a very nice college not too far from here. I heard about this particular college, right in the financial district, right across the street from City Hall. And I was working at the time, full-time, believe it or not. I was working full-time before he came home from the service. And so
I'm sorry to interrupt. We have about 2 minutes left.
okay. So anyways, the wind-up was that I told him to go to this college and find out what they had to offer, what subjects he'd like to take.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, in the meantime, look at the WARN ads and see if you can find a job.
Mm-hmm.
So, come on in. So anyways, the wind-up of the whole thing was he signed up at Pace Institute, which was a college within walking distance of where we lived. And he got himself, he was going to go to college evenings.
Mm-hmm.
And he got himself a job in the bank.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
So that worked out very well.